Now, from the InQuality stand at NAB show at the Las Vegas Convention Center, streaming live around the world, showcasing ipDTL, Hybrid, and sip.audio. This is K-Sip. And here's your host, Kevin Leach.
It's coming up to 1 p.m. Pacific Time, West Coast, USA. Hi from Las Vegas Convention Center. It's Kevin Leach here on K-Sip, our pop-up station in Vegas today and tomorrow, talking about ipDTL, sip.audio, and Hybrid. Townsend's great, isn't he? I could listen to him all day. What a legend. I'm going to show you now my screen. And I'm going to mute Remote A. Because you'll see that on the screen there was the name Gary. So I've clicked that and you can now see what's gone on there. I'm sending video. Gary's sending video. He's got a nice wide camera there. What I can do is I can make Gary's camera the main visual thing. I could have said that better. And then I can make it full frame, and then there you go. So now I can cut between myself to our live stream and Gary like that. Now, and then what I should do, I guess, before I go too much further with that, is go back to ipDTL's mixer and actually fade him up so we can hear it. Gary,
you couldn't hear me.
No, yeah, because I connected to you on a closed fader because I thought that was the slick way to do
Probably
it.
safer.
Well, you just never know what's going on there, do you?
Is my level okay?
Yeah, it is. What mic are you using there?
Oh, it's just it's a Samsung S2. It's a cheap one I could find. I'm only using it for me talking.
Right.
I've got far nicer mics. I've got a Neumann. It's a TLM 102 over there, but I save that for the vocals.
Because it's quite thin, actually. Is that?
Is it? Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah. I mean,
I can go around the room and plug some others in if you.
Well, I would like that. Yeah. Do you want me to talk?
What have I got here? I've got an SM57.
Because it's a bit kind of coming.
A bit poppy.
Well, this is a bit kind of comey and goey as well. You know, if I guess you were off axis a bit.
Let me
as well.
fade myself down so it doesn't pop.
Yeah,
I'll get another mic.
I'd like that.
Second.
Yeah, I'd like that. So I'll tell you while he does that. I'll tell you, and we'll watch him do it. This is great. I'll tell you who Gary is. Gary's a good friend of mine, actually. We go back at least 10 years, and Gary works for the BBC back in the United Kingdom. He's not representing the BBC right now, I should say. His views are his own, and Gary does all sorts of things. Just talking about you, Gary is a musician. He's actually in his home studio right now, which is in his garage, in his house in the United Kingdom. And I'm going to cut away from you because it's not fair watching you kind of scrambling while you do that. So I've cut away from you for a moment. Gary's in, and I'm just make sure that I'm on the right sources here on the old Vision mixer or switcher, if you like. Gary works for BBC Radio 5 Live. He's one of their technical managers and works with the studio managers, the board ops for the talk network in the UK, and that's sounding well. I'm really grateful to you. Yeah, I'm really grateful to you for doing that.
A bit better.
Yeah,
happy to do it. No, this is a lot better, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. And now what you can do is give yourself a few inches. Far be it.
Do you think I might don't want to pop?
Your bit of proximity tip up going on. So far be it from me.
I see some of the voice artists sort of put it either down or up a bit, don't they, just to avoid the popping?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm doing with my. I'm on a
people,
Sennheiser 416 here, so I've got that, kind of above pointing down. The voice talents love that in challenging environments like this, because it's a lot of the reflections are lost. But what you
it's
will
very directional.
Yeah, what you will be able to tell with this is that this neat little Roland video switcher that we've got, a 4-channel USB switcher, which was a bit of an ordeal to get hold of, but it's running HD video through it, so it gets hot, and therefore it's got a fan in it, and you can probably hear that.
I can hear that. Yeah.
And it's difficult. It's really difficult trying to balance that in here. So it's all a bit of a compromise, So all right. So let me go back to the video on ipDTL, and I can put you full frame now. Yeah, that's a nice setup. And I say that I'm now going to look in ipDTL's chat because I've got a message here from Tim Keenan. Tim says, Tim Keenan here at Creative Media Recording in Southern California, standing by in our studio to connect. All right then, Tim. Well, I'm going to bring Tim in as well, if that's all right with you, Gary. And
that sounds good.
Yeah, just getting a little bit of slapback from you there, Tim.
From me.
But it might just be that the speakers are on. Maybe I should have warned you I was going to connect him. Are you there, Tim?
I am here.
Oh wow! Let me just take you. Let me just take you back.
Sorry. I am in the booth. I am in the control room. Let me go into the booth.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Okay. We'll let you do that. I mean, it's a bit of a. I think he's been sitting there for an hour or something. So it's like your radio station, Gary. It's just the same.
We pride ourselves.
And then suddenly I'm just like, well, come on, are you not there? Are you not sitting at the microphone ready for me? Come on, Tim. You got to get better at this. So, Gary, you're in your home studio in Manchester, in the UK, right? Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
And you've had that.
And recently, ipDTL's been great recently because the main guy, Dan, in our band, hasn't really enjoyed leaving the house, so he just wants to do it remotely. And in
that's
fairness,
an
he
interesting
is
use
planning to move
case.
to Paris soon. Yeah. He's moving to Paris soon, and we've been thinking, well, how are we going to do our music remotely? Yeah, we can record stuff and send it to each other, which is fine. But what I tend to do is most of the mixing, and he'll sit there and listen and sort of go, "Oh, can you make that a bit louder? Or should we do another drum bit there?" And well, we tried Skype, we tried FaceTime, and it was a joke. It's just when you send music across that, it sounds terrible.
And this works nicely for you.
This is fantastic.
Yeah, and I guess is brilliant. So the challenge would, if you were trying to play together, that wouldn't work, right? Because you'd have the latency.
Yeah, we tried, and I knew the delay would not work.
That must be weird, actually, as a musician trying to play in time when you've got latency working against you.
Yeah, well, I've got my drums set up here. Don't know if you can hear them.
Yeah, we can.
So often he'll sort of go, "Oh, can you do this beat?" And he'll sort of drum it out on the table in his house or something, and I'll be trying to drum along, and it is quite hard.
I love that collaborative way of working.
Yeah, it's great. It's taken a bit of setting up on my mixer so that I can hear you, my mix, but not send
back to
yourself.
It's the old mix minus challenge, right?
Exactly, and when you've only got a Mackie 1202, cheap little desk, you've got a lot of thinking to do.
Yeah, but I mean, it's interesting you say that. We're running this whole thing through a Mackie Pro FX8, and it's the same. Yeah, it's exactly the same challenge. But the neat thing with this is it's got a USB in and out on it, which it's got its own mix minus then.
Yes.
It pretty much is its own mix minus. What you don't get is I don't get a fader for you to fade you up and down. There's a pot, there's a rotary pot, but it doesn't matter because hey, ipDTL has got its own mixer built in. So I just use ipDTL as a sub mixer of that in this sense, and just control your levels on that. Tim, I'm gonna bring you in now. How's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Kevin?
Yeah, pretty good. Now,
can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. You're a bit hot. Are you able to take yourself back a bit there, Tim?
I am a little. Yes. Hold on one second.
Yeah. I mean, it's appropriate because it's hot in here. And you can imagine you in the Studio Bricks booth, you put all this equipment, including this video switcher that's hot, and all the other stuff that was squeezed into this tiny little box. There's not a lot of. This is the thing when you try and isolate a space acoustically, and then you remember you actually want some kind of ventilation as well. There's a conflict of interest there, isn't there?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I found that in here. I ended up getting air conditioning in the end.
Yeah, and it's
the
just
only way. It was just too hot.
And then you turn it off if you need to do critical recording, I suppose, and then just turn it on again.
Yes, yeah. We just get it really cold and then turn it off.
That's a good plan. There's a
raises
little
the
ventilation thing in this, but I mean, then that's noisy. So you know what do you do? It's an ongoing
It's hard.
challenge. But I mean, the trick is have less kit in your booth. You know, if you're using this as a VO, for instance, then just have your mic in here and maybe a screen repeat. Tim.
I'm back.
Oh, that's
Is this okay?
So much better, yeah, because it was kind of
good.
causing the stream to break up, or it was kind of.
No, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, it was kind of giving some weird kind of clicky noises as well when it was clipping. So, Tim, tell us where you are.
I'm in Southern California. We're 5 miles from Disneyland.
Nice. And Gary, you're in Manchester, UK. I'm here in Las Vegas, Nevada, in the USA. So Gary, meet Tim.
Hello, Gary.
Pleased to meet you. Hi there.
So despite all of so you're both coming through me. I'm the mixer in the middle here. My ipDTL mixer is the mixer in the middle of all this. But you're able to talk to each other. Well, I'll take myself out, and you can just introduce yourselves.
This is amazing technology.
I agree. For me, it's the quality. I've found nothing else that the audio sounds this good, and certainly not something that's this simple.
Now that he potted down that fan in that room, it's like, wow, amazingly quiet.
You know what? I didn't realize how loud it was until he's faded it out.
Right.
Yeah,
we connect with
peace,
voices
isn't it?
all over the U.S., but we've also connected with voices in the U.K. Using ipDTL, and it's very exciting. I think one of the best innovations was when Kevin redid the browser himself and did their own ipDTL browser. So that's been fantastic for us. It's much more stable than Chrome, regular Chrome.
Yeah, I think Chrome's settled down again now. This is the issue with something that it keeps updating itself, isn't it? And they keep supposedly making it better. And in some, it's often 2 steps forward and 1 step back with these things. Right now, we don't. I mean, we're using Chrome here now, and it's fine. So it was a little wobble with that, but it's nice to have that reassurance. I think that you've got a version of a browser that's locked to a stable version that isn't going to update overnight and cause you a problem. And I mean, we did testing on the it's called Canary, the overnight build of Chrome, and then the beta version of Chrome, and they added a booby trap in like a week ago that we found that needs us to do.
So that's so frustrating.
Yeah, it is, and it's actually a security thing. I think it was that they're adding improved encryption on the Opus streams, because all Opus streams that go through Chrome have to be encrypted. They've improved that and therefore broken the ability to connect to through SIP. But I mean, it's fine. We're across it, and this is on the it's not on the live version of Chrome yet. So
and also we're a legacy ISDN studio, so we've got a lot of folks that still connect to us via ISDN and right to ipDTL from ipDTL to our ISDN legacy setup, Telos.
Yeah, who's your provider there, Tim?
We are very fortunate to have it switched to Frontier.
Right.
It was a Verizon, and
they're happy to keep it. They're happy to keep it going for a while. Yeah.
In Southern California, there's still a lot of activity. We're near the surf area where they keep bringing ISDN in, bring ISDN out. So we got to talk to one of the service guys recently, and it's still active. ISDN's still alive. Our long distance is AT&T, which has been fantastic.
Yeah, so, and it's, the long distance thing's becoming more and more of a challenge, isn't it? Because there's not a lot left now on it.
We're finding it so unreliable.
Because you work at the BBC, right, Gary?
It's MCI.
Only last week I tried to do a recording with somebody in Australia and somebody in Delhi, and neither of the ISDN lines would stay connected.
Wow.
And you know what's weird? We found this with another contributor in Boston, in the US, and it's like the bandwidth gets restricted. It's like you get connected and it frames, and then it's like when you start to lose. When you're connected via an IP codec, it starts to sort of burble and drop out a bit, and you think that's not ISDN.
So you think they're passing that on IP circuits then, which is there's every chance that they're doing. Yeah, they've got these
where they've binned off in parts of the world. ISDN, it's passing over an IP circuit.
Yeah. I know CenturyLink, who we've got some circuits with in Denver, they use, I think, what they call a pair gain between our site and their site, and it does exactly that. It sends, I don't know, X number of ISDN lines down a fiber or whatever, or indeed down one pair of copper rather than 10 pairs of copper or 50 pairs of copper, and it's like multiplexes them all down the same path. And as soon as you start doing that, then the danger is that if everything's connected at the same time, or they're contending for a limited amount of bandwidth, then there's probably all sorts of these things going on that we don't know about. So Tim, did we keep you
stand
waiting?
corrected. Our long. No.
Go on.
Yes. Well, I logged in a while ago, but
I saw you were there. I wasn't
studio,
sure. I wasn't sure Townsend had clocked that you were there or not. So thanks for giving us the nudge. And when I came in and took over, I wasn't sure if Townsend had already spoken to you or not. Actually, so sorry if we kept you waiting.
Not a worry.
And then sorry to just suddenly appear and come on, Tim, where are you? Get it together, man.
I'm here, and I'm being camera shy because we don't have a camera in our.
Well,
booth,
that's fine because we can only take one stream at a time anyway. So Gary is the man on the screen right now, and it looks nice. I mean, apart from the mess behind you, Gary, you've got to tidy up that studio.
It won't stay tidy for long.
That's the way it goes. Well, it's like our booth.
Yeah, there's so many people that use it. There's other people that come in and they leave their mess. So.
No.
We are where we are with this.
Quite. So, Tim, you're at Creative Media Recording, a long-time user of ipDTL.
Normally we're at NAB. I think it's the first time in 20 years that we haven't gone.
What's going on? Yeah, I've seen you here 2 years ago. I saw you here 4 years ago.
Yes.
You're too much work, right?
That's it. Too much work. No, we skipped it this year.
Uh-huh.
I saw my friend Mike Laponis was there yesterday, so and he sent out some pictures, so I knew he was taking care of. He's collecting stuff for me, so
cool.
I'm good.
So you were saying about your long distance that it's actually MCI, right?
It's actually MCI. Yes.
Yeah. Through, and I imagine you've got it through some reseller, have you? Because MCI stopped selling it themselves, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they're owned by Verizon.
That's right.
But yes, we got it through as a third-party thing because we had something odd that wasn't happy doing ISDN long distance. So, But MCI is happy to do it. Our rates are still low, but I can see this is all going to go away.
It is. I mean, Sprint did it, didn't they? Sprint did it. 18 months ago, whenever it was, and it wasn't massively publicised, because we had some Sprint long distance through a reseller, and thankfully the reseller was on the ball, but we never got notification from Sprint saying, by the way, we're gonna turn this off. Ironically,
terrible.
Ironically, a department of Sprint do use ipDTL for their in-house production, so they to connect long distance on. Oh look, I should turn my phone off when I'm in the studio. That's the first rule, right? So yeah, there's some irony there that they now the company that was like one of the big long distance providers now use ipDTL because it's the only way that they can connect. So
wow,
to ISDN, crazy world, huh?
That's ironic.
Oh, I've got some news for you. Townsend Coleman, who was in here a short while ago, he does a session each day for Ryan and Kelly, which you'll know, Tim, as a network TV show here in the United States, and he's doing it at 2:00 at our time, so that's in just under an hour. And he's going to do it from the booth here, so you'll be able to watch Townsend do his, but not listen. Or is that no? Okay, I've got that wrong. I've got that wrong. You won't be able to see or watch, see or listen to anything, but you can rest safe in the knowledge that it's happening.
There you go.
So I misinterpreted his message. So sorry about that. But so I've got 54 minutes to figure out how we send something else to the stream in the meantime. So there's that'll be fun. We'll just we'll take a camera out on.
Out on the floor.
Yeah, well, it's fine actually. If we kill the audio and cut to that wide cam, then that's fine. The job's done. I've cut away from you now, Gary, because you were on for a long time. Then it was
That's understandable.
It's quite a big job.
I'll probably put in faces.
Yeah, well, probably, yeah. So there's a lot going on in this little booth. There's the audio, there's the submix of ipDTL, there's the remotes coming in, there's the mixer, there's the visual talkback, there's the audio. It's doing everything that we used to do, because I used to work with Gary at Radio 5 Live in the UK, and I guess it's trying to do a similar thing, isn't it? A visualized radio program, but there was a team of thousands to do that, and you're running and you've got a clever. Are you using Bionics phone box now to do your automatic video switching?
Yeah, for us in Salford, in Media City for 5 Live, we use Broadcast Bionics. Well, they're moving away from the phone box name. I think they want to call it the Bionic Studio.
Right. Okay. But it's essentially
they've understood that phone-ins.
Gone.
The same
but
software.
it's like they call it like their social studio or something. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a social element to it because you get your social media feeds in, and you also get your cameras, which you can frame up. And it does all the triggering for you. I think we're pretty happy with it, really.
Nice. So Tim, what's been in your world lately? What's going on over there?
It's been very busy, which is good for us. Same old, same old. We do a lot of the corporate non-broadcast stuff. That's been our forte. But I have a couple good commercial accounts that keep us busy, and the e-learning stuff is good. It's gotten to the point where even local people are like, well, it's going to take me a half hour to drive there, but can we just connect? Yes, let's just connect.
And then, even that half hour adds up, doesn't it? Because it's not just the half hour driving, it's finding the car keys, it's locking the house, setting the alarm, remembering you've left your cell phone in the house, going back.
Did they lock their doors in America? When I went to America, everyone was just like, my keys are just in the car.
Well, our Airbnb house is in what Rachel Thomas, Randy's daughter, who they were staying with us a couple of nights ago, who you know well, Tim. You know Randy, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. They were staying.
Randy's been in our studio.
She was here yesterday. Yeah.
I saw that. I saw that on the social media.
Yeah. Rachel. And their friend Lulu was with us, and Rachel said, Lulu says she's local, and she said, we're in the ghetto here. So when I got home to our Airbnb house, they'd locked all the doors. So that answers your question, Gary. Yes, in certain areas of the United States, they lock the doors.
Okay.
So there you go. That's really interesting, Tim. That even for what is a relatively short journey, it's becoming just easier to do a remote session than messing around coming into. And then, it's nice to kind of press the flesh, meet and greet, and hey, how are you? Great to see you. Grab a coffee. But all of that stuff adds. It's inefficient, actually, isn't it? All of that extra layer of welcoming somebody in, and you need reception staff and all of that.
Sure, but it's important. For some clients, it's important. They want to make that face-to-face connection, but. This is so, I could paste a picture of them up on the glass and say, okay, if the client's here and we're here, but the talent's remote, no problem. There they are. This is them, they can hear everything. The full fidelity helps.
Tell me, Tim, do you have a device in your studio that's SIP compatible?
Do I?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know.
I'll list some, like a Comrex Access or a Telos Zip 1.
Correct, I do not. As a matter of fact, I lost a job because I did not have that. We're on an NPR database for ISDN. Yeah. And so the studio in Boston called and said, "Do you have a Zip 1?" No, I'm sorry, but I have this great ipDTL stuff. You should look at it, and you should have that.
And
So could I connect to a Zip 1?
yeah, absolutely. There's some limitations
With the
which
SIP?
we're hopefully working through with Telos, because it supports SIP, but it doesn't yet support the Opus codec. And they've got all these you've got all the fancy codecs, MPEG and AAC and stuff that they can connect zip to zip. But right now you can't connect Opus from a Telos, and we can't, sip.audio doesn't natively support things like AAC currently. We're with sip.audio, we're encouraging use of the Opus codec because it's a great standard, it's really efficient, and it's proven to be really reliable. And most manufacturers are now putting it into their hardware with the SIP protocol. So far, with the Zip 1, you've only got G722, so you've got this great bit of kit that in theory does high quality audio, and it doesn't. It's we can only do G722, but watch this space, because I think that's gonna change. So my point being, Tim, if you got something like a Comrex Access in your studio, registered it with a sip.audio account, suddenly that opens you up to the whole world of SIP connectivity, and anybody with a SIP-enabled device then can connect to you just with your, you could be creative media at sip.audio, and they just dial that address from whatever. They could dial it from ipDTL. They could, you already are. What's your login ID, and if you're happy to share it, is it something like Tim Keenan?
It's CMR Studio.
Right.
CMR Studio.
So you're so if you look under Quick Start you'll be in the link right now, but when you're back in your own account, if you look under Quick Start, you'll see that you actually already are the ipDTL login ID at sip.audio. It's there, and people can call you on that.
Oh, fantastic!
And this is the
good to
future.
know.
This
For me, I certainly do hope it is the future, because the trouble I've found
as a
is
technical radio producer.
Indeed, in a radio station, is you get radio stations that want to connect in. We've got this guest, they've gone into this studio. We've got a device, they'll name it, and you'll go, never heard of it.
And then you've got to go and Google it and figure out how it works. Yeah,
we're there Googling. Can that, because we've got some Comrex accesses as well, and we're like, well, can it connect into our access? Well, we could give them the IP address and see, and it's just a lottery.
Yeah,
the thing
of course
that's
it is.
so good about ISDN is you can give it
and
to
in radio. It happens so fast.
Yes,
and you're changing. So it's like, now we have to connect to this.
Absolutely. And the
Yeah.
reality of this, of course, Tim, is that Gary will go to all this effort to figure out how it works, and then the producer will say, we've got a breaking news story now. We're not going to use it.
Or they'll just end up doing on the phone or something, which frustrates me so much, because we could have got that sounding better. But ISDN, you can give a box to anybody who's never seen it before and say, dial the number. It's like a phone. You just dial the phone number, it connects, and that's what we need with audio over IP. In my opinion, we need a system that they just dial a number or put an address in, and it connects. And that's what I would see SIP being able to do.
Yeah, it's exactly that.
If your username, mine is Gary Boast at sip.audio, there you go, just connect to that.
And the BBC is starting to dabble with this, right? And I'm not asking you to kind of disclose corporate secrets or anything, Gary, but I'll just say what I know publicly about what the BBC's doing here, because I talked a little bit about this yesterday. So the BBC's got an internal BAS project, as they're calling it, something about broadcast something system, and broadcast audio something system.
I should know.
Yeah, and it's the BBC's internal SIP service. You can connect to it from outside the corporate firewall if you are given an account by the BBC, which is if you've got to get someone on air quickly. There's a lot of work involved in that. I'm not asking you to comment on this, Gary, because that would be unfair. But
very much hoping that they can make it so that we can dial in from an external device. Of course, the problem with this is how you make it secure, and that's why there's been some hold up there. And
I get
think
that.
as long as once that can be bottomed out, as you might say in business parlance, so it can be made secure. Because here's the other side of the coin with our Comrex is, as soon as in the past, we've put SIP servers, details into them, we've had spam. They've just rang.
Yeah, the old robocalls on the Comrex,
randomly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, and that's caused annoyance. So it's that we're a bit nervous about, and I think we'll work it out. I do know that we'll get there.
I think it's got to, because I mean I appreciate why the BBC is nervous, and other organisations are nervous about this, and therefore have made it a bit of a developing closed systems at this stage. I think there's probably a compromise somewhere in between, where you allow whitelisted addresses or whatever, whitelisted domains to be able to contact you. And I'd like to think we can get to a stage where sip.audio, because it's a professional platform and spammers aren't going to pay the premium cost, the relatively premium cost to be on sip.audio in the first place, just so that they can do spam calls. And therefore, if organisations such as the BBC whitelisted domains such as sip.audio, then you get to a stage where that you've cut out. You're not necessarily cutting out all abuse, but if we can all agree to stick to specific security standards, then you've got a fairly closed system there, and you've lowered the risk considerably.
Yeah.
So this is all new to you, Tim. I guess you haven't looked at SIP so much.
I haven't looked at it. No.
But this is
now I'm intrigued though, so I will look into it.
Yeah. I mean, do. I just think it's the way that things are going to go, or indeed are going. I mean, we've had a conversation with a large radio provider here in the US today, and they are absolutely doing that. And this is a big project to make all of their connectivity A, SIP compatible, B, use the Opus codec, and C, be flexible enough to be able to connect to not just within their own network, but like the local weather station, or whatever it is, which until now they've been using ISDN for.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense for them. We're in an area where we are a resource to other radio stations around the country, because we're in a touristy area. People are here all the time. It's
right.
Like,
so NPR will send guests to you.
Tour. Yeah? Right. Yes. Number of colleges around here. So NPR will say, "Oh, this guy's on a book tour and he's speaking at Chapman University. We want to send him into your studio for a half-hour interview." It's either live or it's pre-recorded or whatever. We've done the BBC as well. So because of where we're located. So same thing.
And I guess it's that kind of work wouldn't necessarily be lucrative on its own, but you've got the studio there.
It's a sideline.
It's a little extra,
right. Yeah. In fact, if anything, because studios are going away, it's a rarity. You know, that we're a full-service voiceover studio that doesn't do music. We strictly do voiceover and production, that kind of thing. So they feel, wow, I can't believe I found you, and you're only 5 miles away from the convention center. So yeah.
The other thing I think we will do at some point, we've got and I can show this on the screen, we've got our ipDTL network, which is a map of users, which I'm bringing up now. So if you are a radio producer and you want to do exactly that, you've got a guest who you want to get on air in some remote location, anywhere in the world, essentially, in theory, they can go to our map, which is loading, and find a studio nearby that might be willing to host them. I think the way this will go is that we'll rename this as the sip.audio network or the InQuality network, and then that will make that kind, because right now, I mean, there'll be parts of the BBC that don't know about you, right, Tim?
Sure. Yes.
So if there was a database of all SIP capable studios in the world, I think that would make these kind of arrangements far easier. And so and it's a win-win for everybody. The radio producers win because it makes their life easier, and they're not arranging taxis or trying to make FaceTime work or whatever it is. And at the same time, you've got people such as yourself who can earn a little bit of extra cash by farming out their studios. So
Right.
I think we'll see things moving a little bit in that direction, and that's kind of on my to-do list. I think is that because
I'm a big fan of being on anybody's database, and we've actually made connections just by being on the ipDTL database.
Yeah, people find you and say,
Right.
oh, great,
Hey.
you're there, we'll hook
Right.
it, and they know that you've got the technology that they can use. Yeah.
Right.
And that's neat. And I mean, the way I'm happy to say this openly. The way I see this going is that ipDTL will maybe become the lesser brand. It's our big brand right now. I see a situation where in, I don't know, 5 years from now or maybe sooner or later, we might ipDTL might become known as the sip.audio, sip.audio browser or something.
Sure.
And that because I mean it is that with your sip.audio account you can add the ipDTL send a link feature already, so that you can send out an ipDTL link and the user can connect into your browser, for instance. So if thinking forward, it wouldn't be a massive leap to actually think, well, should we drop this crazy sounding product then that nobody can say and no one knows what it means, and people have called ipDTL, which is fine. But yeah, that might be the way things go. Who knows at this stage. Sip.audio is so new. We've got a little bit of a journey to go on between now and then. I should say at this stage, guys, if you if either of you are on a schedule, I mean, you've got a studio to run, Tim. So just say when you want to dip out of this. But why would you want to dip out of this scintillating conversation?
No, it's good. It's good for us too. I'll give you another 5 minutes, bottom of the hour.
That's very generous of you. Great. And Gary, it's just does that where you're both gonna leave me on my own at 5:30? Yeah, that's
let's agree to that.
Yeah. So are you guys have you guys got any questions for each other about that you're curious about? Because there's the whole kind of cultural thing, isn't there, of just people in the US do things slightly different to how people do things in the UK. And is there any insight that either of you might ask of the other?
I was surprised how prevalent ISDN was in voiceover people's home studio in the UK, that it was so predominant. I mean, every talent had ISDN, probably because it was so readily available. Whereas the US, it was a luxury. I mean, it was definitely, oh, well, if you've got ISDN, you made it, And it was a
we
tool
ruined
then.
that.
That's right. No, it's fantastic. It's for us, you've just opened doors to talent that's just been unbelievable.
Yeah, I think it's just because it was and still is a ubiquitous way of connecting in quality, and it's the standard, isn't it? If someone said I've got an ISDN, they know what that means. Right. It's an understood term.
And that's why studios and producers and agents keep sticking with it, because it's all they know, right? It's
exactly,
and it's fear of the unknown.
Right. It's
that's
exactly
precisely it. They understand it, and that's why moving to something else. Oh, we've got this VoIP technology or that. What they don't really know what it is, but they go, oh well, yeah, but can we just use ISDN?
Except of course,
sound better.
Except of course that nobody understands ISDN. They've heard of it.
Granted.
If you start asking what codec settings they're going to use, it's the conversation. The conversation.
Well, it's also the reliability, because the other trouble with VoIP, and we find this a lot. Probably not so much for you guys with your studio setup there, but when we have people that go out into the field and they go to a coffee shop and they connect in on the coffee shop Wi-Fi, then they wonder why it drops off. And they blame the technology. They say, this VoIP app I've got here is rubbish. It drops out all the time. ISDN never did that. Well, no, because ISDN, you'd have had to paid to have the line installed in that coffee shop, and
Ahead of time.
a piece of copper cable, precisely
Right.
ahead, a piece of copper cable would have been installed in that building specifically for you. You've just turned up with your cell phone and hopped on their free Wi-Fi and somehow expected
30
that to
other
work.
people are there, surfing the web.
And
This is rubbish.
Yeah,
This doesn't work.
precisely.
Yeah, it's like the. Have you seen the? I was shown this recently. A comedy routine by what's the guy in the United States who's been slightly is in disrepute slightly due to his personal behaviour. C.K. Louis C.K.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Does a routine, I think, on one of the TV talk shows where he talks about being in an aeroplane, and it's the first ever time that they've launched this brand new super fast Wi-Fi in the sky, and he was there watching YouTube in the sky, and it was like seamless. And then there was an announcement came over and said, "I'm terribly sorry that there's a minor problem with the super fast Wi-Fi. We're going to work on that." And then the guy sitting next to him said, "Oh, this is bullshit." you know, it's like it's sudden, and I can say bullshit because we're not regulated. But it's that kind of you can only do so much with the technology. Let's not just expect everything to work magically.
Right.
No, but I do just find getting that through to people, it can be quite hard because they want the moon on a stick, and they can't always get that, and sometimes they just go in and hope, and hey, if it worked last time, they assume it will work next time. They'll do a recce, for example. They'll go to a part of the city that they want to do a broadcast from. Let's say
before the big event's happening, yeah.
Before the big event, so they'll go into the centre and go, right, well, I've tested, I'm connecting in, oh, this is stable, this is really good quality, this is going to work fine.
And
The
nobody
parade
else
comes
is
past.
using, yeah.
Precisely. The parade is there, there's a crowd of people, there's everyone's, tweeting.
Overloaded
and,
all
and
the
Facebook
systems.
living.
Yeah.
Precisely. And they try and do their broadcast, forget it. Absolutely no chance.
Yeah.
We get those things a lot. So that I think people need to understand those elements of all of this a bit more to ensure that they're not blaming the technology incorrectly. They're just understanding what the problem is and why it's not worked.
Like running an ISDN line, they need to have a dedicated, router, dedicated,
Well, exactly
connection
that. But
line
it's funny, people would not happily, but people would install an ISDN line in the home or whatever. But then if you say, well, why don't you get a dedicated business broadband line installed in your home to use for your audio connectivity?
Right.
And they're like, well, that sounds a bit decadent.
Right.
Well, what more
So
decadent than having an ISDN line installed? It's it's a strange mentality is that people don't seem willing to get even just like I work from home, but I've got a fibre or a faux fibre connection into the house and an ADSL connection into the house, and then all the various wireless solutions. Because I wouldn't get annoyed when one of my broadband connections drop off. I would say, well, of course one of them's going to just disappear once in a while, and because it's important to me, of course I'm going to have more than one.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
particularly if it's for your
One of
business,
the
if
issue-
it's your livelihood.
Yeah, one of the issues we have is convincing people that they need to be hardwired. Though they're so reliant on everything being wireless.
Again, it's the
And
magic,
in
isn't
this
it?
case,
It's
yes.
magic. It just works.
Right.
Yeah.
There's
it's
a
become
lot of
too-
data here with audio. You got to make sure it's connected, it's dedicated, it's hard, and the difference is phenomenal. When they're not, I'd be like, why is it dropping out? Are you wireless?
Oh yeah, of course I'm. And they'll say no, the wireless works fine, and they mean wireless works fine for Google.
Yeah,
wireless
exactly.
works fine.
Or
for,
is your kid upstairs in the bedroom playing on his PlayStation?
Right.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
there using
yeah.
all your bandwidth up.
Yeah.
Right.
We get that a lot when we call contributors up, and we're like, you sort of say, yeah, well, I'm here, I'm close to the router, and oh dear, it's dropping out quite a lot. That's really odd. Is anyone else using the internet connection?
Yeah, I'm syncing my
son's
CCTV on
upstairs,
Dropbox or whatever it is.
Yeah. All of this, you're going to need to
Juniors
turn that
gaming.
off. It's not going to work. This is not going to work.
Yeah.
for
So there's
what
definitely
we
some learning there. I did a demo, and this I'll let you go in a moment because we're just reaching past. But yeah, I did a demo. I think it was at VO Atlanta a few years ago. I've done this demo a few times where I had like funnels and water in different containers, and I poured the water down just like into a funnel and into another container, and said, right, so there's one example, and then I did another example, but I got a colander and kind of waved that in between whilst pouring the water, and said, right, what do you think that one is, and what do you think that one is? Right, so that's the Ethernet, and that's Wi-Fi. That's the difference. You've got this data kind of scattering everywhere compared to a nice stream straight into your machine. Right, Tim Keenan from Creative Media Recording. It's been great to talk to you. It's a shame we didn't see you at NAB show this year.
No, I'm sorry I couldn't make it, but thank you for letting me in virtually. I appreciate that, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely no problem, Tim. Do call again. We're here all day tomorrow, so I mean, maybe you're bored of listening to me. You can talk to somebody else tomorrow. But yeah. I mean, you've got work to do, so I'll let you get on. But thanks so much for talking to us. I really appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Have
Thanks
a good one.
lot.
Bye-bye. There goes Tim. And Gary Boast, who, like I say, works for the BBC, but is not representing the BBC here. He's absolutely representing himself in his home studio in Whalley Range, Manchester. I know this detail because we're good friends. In Manchester, United Kingdom. Really good to talk to you. And, well, I look forward to seeing you on my return. Any parting words from you?
Well, it's a pity I can't be at NAB too, because it's one trade show I'd certainly like to get to.
I guess it's. I mean,
one
even
year.
with the decadence of the BBC, that's it's a bit extravagant for. And the thing is, I guess you would say, well, yeah, go and we'll pay for you to go to an NAB show. We can spare a morning on Tuesday, and then you've got to get back for this meeting or whatever. So it's a long way for a quick fleeting visit.
It's a difficult one.
Yeah,
it's hard to justify when there are other ones in other trade shows in Europe.
Quite.
Which as I've been to IBC before, so it's just a sort of bucket list thing, I think, for me. One day, maybe. Yeah,
there's a lot going on here. I mean, the radio hall where we are is actually we're right at the north end of everything, so everybody's got to walk through everything else to get to us. And therefore, I mean, maybe we'll try well, I've said this is my last NAB show anyway. I said I'm never doing it again. It's such an ordeal to come and set all this stuff up. But if we do it again, maybe we'll do it in a different hall in the future, because it's a little bit quiet in here, but the thing itself is vast. It's on it's like several aircraft hangars.
And Las Vegas itself is another thing, isn't it?
it is absolutely is another thing. Yeah.
I did quite enjoy it.
So it's like getting towards bedtime in the UK, certainly for you, because you've got
it's 9:30 here.
A new child. So
she's in bed.
Good. So good luck to all of that. And I'll see you back in the UK in a week or so.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Gary.
All the best.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy the rest of your show. See you soon. Bye now.
There goes Gary Boast. What a legend. So kind of him to spare time to talk to us on KSIP. It's our pop-up station here in Las Vegas at the Convention Center.